Welcome to the She Speaks to Inspire podcast. I'm your host, Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. She Speaks to Inspire is an empowering public speaking podcast for women with public speaking fear. Unlike other podcasts on public speaking, She Speaks to Inspire not only gives you tips to be a confident communicator under pressure, but also helps you regulate your nervous system for less anxiety, learn lifestyle practices to reduce burnout and overwhelm, and reconnect with your feminine leadership presence for more authenticity and comfort in your skin. I believe it's the quiet ones, especially the quiet women, who have the most important ideas. I believe the world really does need your voice. So let's dive in. We are here today to talk about perfectionism. Whether you think that you're a perfectionist or not, take a listen to these symptoms and see if you relate. When you find out that you have the opportunity to speak, whether it's sharing something in a meeting or to give a presentation, to be interviewed on a panel, whatever it is your first impulse to prepare as much as possible? Do you start setting aside hours and hours of time, your weekends, your evenings, to prepare? Women will say to me, I have a presentation next Monday, so that's what I'll be working on all weekend. That's the mindset. Everything goes into this until it's over. Life sort of goes on hold until this thing happens. Do you relate to that? If you do, you probably have a little bit of perfectionism in you. When you're in the middle of your speaking, in the presentation, in the meeting, and you struggle to find your word, you stumble over your word, you get lost for a moment or forget, blank out. Is there a terror, panic, an anxiety that floods you in those moments? Do you feel like a failure in those moments? Do you feel like you just bombed? And then afterwards, are you having all those thoughts? I bombed. That sucked. I'm just not good at this. I did terrible. That was awful. Even if people give you positive feedback, that was great. Really appreciate you speaking. I learned so much. Whatever they say that's positive. Are you unable to receive that? Do you say to them, oh, no, thank you. I was a mess. No. Oh, thank you. No. I was so nervous. And, downplay the positive feedback that you're getting because you feel like you didn't do well. You didn't live up to your own standards, as if others are walking around with the same standards you have in your own mind. If you relate to any of that, then you have some perfectionism in you, for sure. It's so normal to have this. It's a form of conditioning. You learned it somewhere. Where did you learn it? I know you probably tell yourself, I really just want to be more polished. I want to be able to be comfortable in presentations and have people think that I'm really good. I want to impress people. I want to prove that I know what I'm talking about. I want to sound like a leader. I want to do a good job. Even that phrase, do a good job. Whenever you notice yourself saying, I had women say to me, I want to be correct. I want to do it right. This is the kind of language that a perfectionist uses. How does that language make you feel? How does your body respond to that kind of language? In my body, when I've experienced this, because I am certainly a recovering perfectionist, I feel a sense of pressure. I feel pressure in my chest, a tightness that comes over me. I can't breathe as deep. I'm certainly not having any fun. I'll start to feel like I've floated out of my body and I just need to get through this. I need to just do a good job now. There's a bit of disassociation that will happen to me in those moments. I remember I used to teach corporate trainings. This was back maybe 6-7 years ago. I would teach these corporate trainings and I still had internalized perfectionism. To be honest, the corporate environment reinforced it. because that's the mentality there a lot of times, that being professional equals being polished and perfect. But it's also the environment that I started to debunk that within myself. So I guess that's a gift. In these corporate trainings, I started to notice that at the end of the day, when I got in my car after leading that day-long training, there'd be this sigh of relief, and all of a sudden I finally could relax. Oh, and I'd be so exhausted, so burnt out after these day-long speaking moments. There was a lot of elements of why that was. For example, I'm introverted. It takes a lot of energy for me to speak all day. You can listen to other episodes to learn more about being an introvert with speaking. And in my programs, I go into that a lot because you really have to manage your energy. But a big part of what was going on is that it was taking me a lot of extra energy to always be anxious and striving for something better. I needed to have it together. I can see myself up at the front of the room, gripping my butt cheeks to keep myself from sort of shaking and giving myself away. Sweating on the inside, my heart's racing, but I couldn't let anybody know. The worst. So why do you have this perfectionism in the first place? There's so many reasons. And there are going to be a lot of unique reasons to you, too, by the way. Like I said earlier, there's some place that you learned this. What did you internalize from your family growing up about how you should or shouldn't express what's polite and impolite, what's appropriate and inappropriate, what's professional and unprofessional, from your family, what you learned there, from your teachers, maybe from your community or your church? What about from your early bosses? There's a lot that we learn at that time, and we're searching for that information, searching for that input and somebody to emulate. That's a phase in our lives where we try to figure out who we are, try to figure out how to be in this world. Here you are as a more mature adult, more established professional, and it's a phase in your life where you can now ask questions. Now you can be curious. Now you can make choices based on your own values. So another reason that perfectionism is really becoming something that we're aware of these days is that we're in the age of authenticity with social media and everything. Authenticity is a currency. Whereas back in, say, the 1950s, 60s, even 70s, I'm thinking in America, there was much more of an expected and accepted mask that people in the public eye put on when they were presenting. The most extreme version of that is the actors and actresses in movies. Think of any 1950s movie. But this also extends to any of the speakers in those days. The style, the expected style of speaking. It was a style in and of itself, and then you try to emulate it. We've come a long way since then, but that's still in our collective psyche. We're outgrowing it in this generation. Because now what's expected, accepted, and working is you being a live, authentic human being in front of the world. And lastly, I'll reflect that this new push for authenticity, it can be very confronting for our fragile human psyches, right? It's scary to reveal ourselves. Of course, it's scary to show our frailty, to show our insecurities. It requires more intimacy and transparency and invites you to get more comfortable with being seen. That can make you feel unsafe because there is judgment. Sorry. There is judgment. People are judging you. I can't stop that for you. People are judging you. If you have an excessive need for validation, affirmation, and approval, then perfectionism is your way of keeping yourself safe. So again, like I always say, regulating your nervous system is so important in order to overcome these public speaking hurdles. I go much deeper into the levels of the nervous system and how they work with public speaking in my masterclass. You can go to my website, speaktoinspire.com, and register for free there. For now, I want to talk a little bit about some counterintuitive things that you need to do in order to overcome perfectionism. First of all, I recommend flipping the script. This is an obvious one and somewhat bold, but it works. Flipping the script means when you mess up, and I'm doing quotes right now, air quotes, when you mess up whatever you call messing up, say you and ah a lot, use filler words, maybe you blank out and forget your words, whatever your mess up is. When you mess up, Acknowledge it in front of others. Say something like, wow, I really can't remember that word. Or wow, I completely forgot where I am. Oh, I can't speak today. And it's not self-deprecating. That's not what I'm saying. There's no need to be self-deprecating. That's another protection mechanism. But to be totally transparent for a moment, like, wow, I'm really nervous. Or wow, I really want to do a good job for you all. I really want you all to like me. You can be completely transparent right there in the moment, and it breaks the hold of perfectionism over you. If you do that a few times, just a few times, I promise you won't have so much unconscious conditioning playing out in the background. I don't think you'll have to do this technique forever. Just a few times to really break the hold of perfectionism on you. When it's unconscious, it has so much power. And lastly, like I always say, I need to keep reiterating because it's so important. Shift away from scripts, work on improvisation. Institute a speaker's warm up routine consistently to manage your nervous system and get you into a state of being that's ready and warmed up and excited and passionate for the opportunity to speak. If you do these things, I promise you, perfectionism starts to dissolve and your authentic confidence, the sustainable that you can rely on, starts to rise up. You've got this. You already have all that it takes, I promise you. So go out there, speak to inspire. The world truly needs your voice. Thanks for listening. This has been She Speaks to Inspire with Julia Kraft, your authentic expression mentor and public speaking coach. I'm so glad you joined me. And I hope you got so much out of this episode. If you want to learn more about Speak to Inspire training programs and get inspired, head over to speaktoinspire.com or follow us on Instagram at She Speaks to Inspire. Never forget